everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Booth with the man straightening his hair, trying to look pretty, and it ain't doing him a bit of good. Howie Cheney. I'm the messy haired, broken fingered one, Randall Cunningham.
Hey, whoa. Let's see that finger again.
Golly, man.
I can't clap. And he's Phil Harris. I'm accident prone, and this is Mo and Larry. I don't know. Guys, big football weekend. Not of it, a lot of it went our way, but I want to get your reactions to this weekend. Phil, starting with you in college football, massive upsets, 5 of the top 11 fall. It's something you've been talking about all year. This is a really open year.
Yeah, it is. I mean, anybody beat anybody any given time. And a lot of these guys, I know probably Alabama and Tennessee was the biggest two, is they feed on that rat poison. And you got to remember, you got to go play football. The other team's out to get you. And basically, to me, in the Arkansas game, Arkansas wanted it more. They weren't the better team.
Yes.
But you take that opening kickoff and they go 16 plays and get a field goal, they set the tone for the whole game. Tennessee never had the football, never got into any rhythm. And Arkansas wasn't fed the rat poison like Tennessee was. Tennessee thought they could just show up and was going to win this game eventually with their athleticism. They're not good enough yet to win games that way.
I think that was kind of the same poison that Alabama fed into after the big win at Georgia. I've told people this is not your average Vandy team. It's a pretty good Vandy team, pretty good athletes, can play with anybody any given Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. They showed it the first game of the year against Virginia Tech, beating a pretty decent Virginia Tech team.
Howie, go ahead with that thought. I know you went and seen Georgia Tech. That ACC is such a mess. Florida State's 1-5 now.
Yeah, absolutely. I talked to some of the players after it's over with, which you know who they are: Clayton Powell, Haynes King, and some of them. And they got a new life on football right now because they feel like that at any given moment they can go on a streak and end up winning the ACC and possibly make it to the playoffs.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
All it takes.
Yeah, because, with the NIL and all that stuff, you've got a lot of mediocrity. I mean, that's like you look at now. Ole Miss lost 2 weeks ago. Georgia lost 2 weeks ago. Everybody's gotten beat up, and now you're fixing to run into Georgia plays Texas, Alabama plays Tennessee. There's going to be a whole lot more losses. It's very competitive, and you got to be ready every day. You can't just say we're going to beat them because teams are not dominant anymore. I told everybody was on Kalen DeBoer's bandwagon. I said, now I'm going to tell you something. Alabama's going to score 40 points a game, but they're going to have to do it because they're going to win a lot of games like the Georgia game, 41-34. And sure enough, that's what happened. Look how many points they've given up. That's just a track record of Kalen DeBoer when he was at Washington. They won a lot of games 52-49 and 56-49. The emphasis is not on defense.
Philip, before I go back to Howie, is some of Tennessee and Alabama's problem coaching?
I don't think so. I think that really and truly these kids kind of run the program. They don't put their heart and soul into it anymore. They get paid. It doesn't matter if they win or lose. Some of it can be coaching and preparedness, but there's only so much a coach can do. And I think a lot of times these guys sometimes go rogue, and it happens. And people don't see that, I don't think, sometimes.
Howie, we've got to know a lot of the kids at Georgia Tech. They're really, and I know a few of the kids at Tennessee, there's really a difference between each level of football. And I know some of the kids at Chattanooga. Once you get down to the Georgia Tech, there's not a lot of huge NIL deals.
No, there's not. And kind of going back on what Phil was talking about, the coaches can't do the things that they used to do because if you say a crossword to one of the players, well, they're going to transfer out and go somewhere else. It's not like it used to be where a coach can actually coach and try to make a player better. If a player don't want to get better, he'll just go somewhere else.
Yeah, and what to feed off that, Howie, basically the development part of it is lacking.
Yeah.
because these kids think they're too good already, and the coaches don't have that. They're not able to develop these kids like they used to, start from scratch and build them up to being great players.
Phil, last question about college football. Could you see a team with 3 losses winning the national championship?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, like Howie talks about the Georgia Tech team, if they get on a run and get hot, you don't never know, because I guarantee you most of those kids at Georgia Tech plays with pure heart. Some of these teams don't, especially when you get late in the season and you start looking at your NFL draft status, kind of like what Florida State did last year. You know,
And
those kind of things happen. And sometimes you can put a team that's mediocre, that's playing well at the end of the year, and they're going to make a run. It's going to happen.
That Florida State team, since all those kids bailed out, is 1-6. They broke that team's chemistry.
Yeah, I think you're right there. You know, and Coach made a big mistake by giving into the excuses. You know, I mean, that's like, look, and I kind of parallel this to Tennessee. Tennessee had 17 opt-outs in their bowl game. Didn't have start quarterback. For top 2 running backs didn't play. But Heupel didn't use that as an excuse. He just took what he had and went and played. And that's what you have to do as a coach. Yeah, if you have all those opt-outs and injuries, you just have to go play, but don't use excuses.
Howie, has college football become minor league football, or is it still college football?
No, it's became just like college basketball has. It's you know, if they could, players would go one and done and they'd go straight to the NFL if they could, but they have to stay there for the 3 years. You know, in the college basketball, they have to go for at least 1 year. And you know that most of the players are there just for the 1 year and they're gone. They're just trying to play by the rules. But back to the college football thing, kind of like what Phil said, the Georgia Techs, they're playing with heart. We both know the guys, some of the guys from Georgia Tech, they were tickled to death to make it to the bowl game last year.
Gabriella Bowl was as big a thrill for them as the playoffs were for some people.
Yeah.
Another example is Duke.
Yeah.
So they were fired up to make it to the bowl game last year because they were playing with heart, not because of NIL money. You know, I saw today where a kid from Alabama, defensive lineman, hasn't played very much this year compared to the last 2 years. So he decided he's going to redshirt and he's going to go into the transfer portal.
Yeah. Well, you had the UNLV quarterback walk away from his team 3 games in the year, undefeated, top 25.
Yeah, it don't make any sense. I mean, when he did that, I was like, this don't make any sense. You know, you're on the bandwagon, things are going good. Why do you all of a sudden end it? Somebody had to have made him mad, is all I know. But I mean, I understand if he was 0-3, but when you're 3-0 and on cloud 9, I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Somebody has fed him a line of, you know what, so long that they have told him that he can make more money playing somewhere else, and so he's walked away and getting ready to either transfer somewhere else or get ready to go to the NFL next year.
Well, I think that's the thing, Howie. That's the last question I was going to ask both of you. Has it became that this 5-year window they've got in the college football, the goal is you can retire from 5 years of college football. There's people that will never have to work again. I'll start with our guy, Nico. $8 million over 4 years is his rumored deal. If I've got $4 or $5 million in the bank, do I ever have to work again? Would I like to have more? Yeah, but do I really have to? Is that 5th year eligibility becoming about money, Phil? Go make the most money you can.
Yeah, I mean, because these guys are making more in college than they'll ever make in the pros.
Absolutely.
And less wear and tear on their body when they finish college. Heck, go play a couple of years in the NFL and retire. Sign your big contract, get your guarantee, and then retire after that.
I forgot exactly the amount of players that are making more than Purdy, the starting 49ers quarterback, making more than he is this year playing college ball because of Purdy's rookie contract hadn't came up yet.
But Howie, every time we have a Georgia Tech kid on here, they hustle their NIL. They're trying to make a little money themselves, but it's not being handed to them. They've got to hustle, sell jerseys, sell short, and Lord help him, CP3 may be the best salesman I know, because every time he's on here, the NLL, it becomes his subject.
Yeah. I was there at Georgia Tech's Saturday night and walked into the team store, and the only player I really saw any merchandise of was Haynes King. And, to be honest, I'm not sure if he gets that money or not. I would assume that he would, but I don't know if he gets it or Georgia Tech gets it.
All right, guys, I'm going to jump. I think we did a good job wrapping this up. Phil, I want to open, and then Howie, I want your opinion of it. I know you're not as familiar as the situation as Phil is growing up in the Chattanooga metro area. But Phil, you saw Baylor beat McCallie 45-12 this weekend, and it's became in the state of Tennessee, it's Baylor and everyone else. Is that good or bad for high school football?
Well, they've become the dominant team, and you're going to have that. You want it to be more competitive between Baylor and McCallie, but it is what it is. When you're allowed to recruit, bring kids in from all over the nation, that's the way football has gotten. It's really starting to get that way down in here in Alabama, and eventually we are going to have a public-private school split. Kid you not, I mean, it's going to happen. They actually, I think, voted on it last year, but it's going to happen because the have-nots, you just show up and play with what you got, like East Ridge. They don't have a bunch of move-ins. They don't recruit. They don't do those things. They just have to play with what they have. And it's not fair, because the biggest thing that kills me is I'm okay with Baylor being really, really good. What I don't like is too many 1-9, 0-10 teams like Lookout Valley that goes out and gets their head beat in. And they deserve better than that.
I had to quit football, and I won't say what school they're at, but I was personally told by a radio guy there is 4 starters from the spring Lookout Valley team playing for a state-ranked team in the Metro Chattanooga area.
Yeah.
When you're allowed to recruit at public level, that becomes even worse. Howie, Phil stole the words right out of my mouth. Not much longer in Alabama can we live with public and private playing each other. In Tennessee, they had to split. Right now in Chattanooga, no one in Chattanooga could beat Baylor, McCallie, or Boyd that's a public school. There's not a public school that can play any of those 3 schools to probably a 40-point game. Is that coming to Alabama?
Yeah, it's heading that way. I saw today where one state has decided on their reclassifications. What they're going to do is the top 5 teams will have to move up one class, and the bottom 5 teams will have to move down one class. And they're going to try to make it more competitive that way. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I wish I could remember which state I read that about, but yeah, something's going to have to give, because Phil gives the scores every Friday night. Him and Jeff does a great job, but I know they're getting tired of reading where it's 69-0 certain games, and usually that nothing is always, majority of the time, not always, but majority of the time, the same team that's always getting beat like that, and they're going out and giving it all they can give, but they just, they're not going to go out and recruit like some of these other schools are doing.
Well, Phil, to his point, Crossville, give up football. Lookout Valley, mid this year, quit playing football. More and more programs are going to end up not existing if we don't do something now.
Yeah, you're correct. I mean, now that's going on like down here. You have a lot of schools that are really struggling. They try to field a team because it's good for the school, and there's several players that want to play. But it needs to be a lot more level. And like what Howie, you're talking about, making the top 5 move up, the bottom 5 move down, at least that's a start. At least they're trying something. Because right now it's just not fair the way it is, because I can remember back when I played, you would play against a team that was maybe 4-6, and the score wouldn't be like 21-0. Right. You wouldn't beat them. You wouldn't beat them 68-6. Very rare would that ever happen. So the game is really lacking. And it's frustrating because you want to see these games be a lot more competitive. And it's not fair to the good teams either. They want to play good competition.
Yeah,
Well,
because when a good team plays against a bad competition or lower competition, I don't want to say they're bad, but lower competition, it teaches them bad habits. And then when they go and have to play somebody equal or maybe a little bit better than them, it affects them. They don't know what to do.
two questions for both of you. Phil, Howie, both of you answer this. Fife moved from 2A to 3A. Is that good for 3A football?
I'll start it. I'll say it is
Me too.
because of the fact of here in DeKalb County, there's more 3A schools in DeKalb County than they probably are any other county. So you get to go back to like when Phil played back in the 80s and won a state championship. I bet if you go back and look at Phil, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but look back at Valley Head's schedule, I guarantee that they played nearly every team in the county. But the way it is now with all the reclassifications and all that, you didn't have very many that was playing each other in the county. But now with Fife moving down, Geraldine, Fife, Savannah, Plainview moved up 4A, but they had been 3A for all these years. You get a majority of the teams that are playing each other. Collinsville's 3A now. So most of that region is from DeKalb County, the 3A region. And I feel like it just makes it better for football around here for sure.
Yeah, better, a lot better for football fans. Yeah, and like you were talking about, Howie, we played Sylvania, we played Geraldine. Of course, we played Ider. Valley Head always plays Ider. Of course, we played Collinsville. Collinsville was 1A at that time. So, yeah, we played a lot of and I think the guys that I played with during their ninth grade year, they played Plainview. So, yeah, we played all the county schools. Fife, we always played Fife too. And so, yeah, and those games are a whole lot more fun. It helps you at the gate too. I mean, because fans we're bringing a lot more interest. Don't you think that if Fife played down here at Valley Head, there would be a whole lot more people hanging off the fences just to watch the game? So, that's the kind of games you want to see. And, it could be lopsided. You don't know. I mean, but you don't know how the game's going to go. But even if it was, people love to see these types of games because Valley Head and Fife were old-time rivals for a while. They really competed against each other, at top-notch level there for a long time. Now they don't play each other anymore.
The same thing with Sylvania and Ider. I call it a friendly rivalry because everybody knew everybody, and those two always played each other. But now with the way the regions are set up, you don't get a chance to play them no more.
Yeah.
Phil, what if a team like Baylor, and a team like IMGA, and like some of these nations powers break away from their individual state conferences, and you had a national high school conference? There's some teams in Texas that are, Baylor has went from New Jersey to California to play this year. Yeah, and it's going to come for them to find competition. They're going to have to do that.
Well, Lipscomb plays all over the Southeast. I mean, every time you turn around, they're playing somebody from out of state. They do it. Baylor has to do it. McCallie has to do it. But they have to do it to have competition, which is great. You love to see those types of games because they end up on ESPN. But I would much rather watch Baylor play Red Bank if they were on a level scale, and the folks of Chattanooga would love that too.
In Lipscomb's, I was going to talk about Lipscomb. They're not a private school power in Tennessee, but they're still good enough to go outside the state, a school of a couple hundred kids, and play a 7A Alabama school a good football game and make it interesting. And they're a 500 team in that private school division.
Yeah, but they'll still do good in the playoffs. I mean, because the teams they play are unreal better than them, but they'll hang in there. They don't get blown out very often.
Howie, real fast, we all, I love the Valley football. They talk about it, which is Squatchy, Marion, Bledsoe, which is very similar to Sand Mountain football. I'm in the city of Chattanooga now, and I go to a game and I'm doing 4A football. There may be 250 people there in the stands. We're across the mountain in a 2A game, or down on Sound Mountain. It's a 4,000 crowd to see two schools of less than 500 kids play. And Phil's made this comment many times. Community makes such a difference in football when you start talking about high school football. As someone that grew up in Sylvania, what does that community do? How do they embrace the Rams?
Oh, it's Sylvania has not much to do on a Friday night. They've got the one red light and got the one Dollar General store, but the Dollar Generals are about 2 miles apart from everywhere these days. But you got the Dollar General, you got the local gas station, and that's about it in Sylvania. So when football season rolls around, you can go through their list of rosters and their players, and most of those players' parents played there before them. Most of their grandparents played there before them. And, it just means a lot to be from Sylvania and to follow in the footsteps of either their parents or grandparents.
There's an excellent point, Phil. We just did some reunions of that 1984 team on their 40th anniversary and winning the state championship. And I remember Jeff talking about his grandson soon will be playing quarterback at Valley Head. It really does become that. And Valley Head's another one. Small, tiny community, small school. Such an ardent fan base that support them.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of times the reason you want to honor the past and honor history of teams is because these young people need to understand history because they're lied to in a lot of different ways now. So one thing that you can keep the truth is that's the history of their community, the history of the people that played at the school that they played at. And, and not only do you pull that jersey on, like you at Sylvania, you pull that green and gold jersey on. It's not only playing for yourself and for self-pride, you're also honoring the people that put that uniform on before you, that kind of lived through your accomplishments today. And these kids don't never need to forget that.
You're playing for the people that came before you, and you're playing for the people that'll be coming after you, which could be your own kids.
Uh-huh.
And Howie, last year, there's a picture that made the rounds of the Anderson cousins. One in a Spit 5 jersey, one in a Sylvania, and a cheerleader. There are families that become so ingrained. Up there you can say the word Anderson, and you know what we're talking about. Over in the valley, you can say the word Pickett, and everybody knows. You can say the word, at Sequatchie County, Evans, and everybody knows. It becomes family oriented in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like we've always talked about when we've had other coaches and players on from around here. The players are more likely playing against their cousin, some type of family members on the other side. If it's not a family member, it's somebody they go to church with or somebody they've grown up with and played rec league ball with or something like that. So it's not like the bigger cities where you don't really know each other. Around here, everybody knows each other and they've either played against each other or have grown up together and they know who they're playing against.
Hey, Phil, you didn't grow up in Valley Head, but every time you start talking about it, you talk about other teams' players, and you knew those guys too. So many teams you say, oh, and their quarterback was Tracy, da-da-da-da. And I went and talked to him after the game, and you knew those guys.
Oh yeah, you'll have a little conversation, maybe a little bit during the game. Most of the time it's still kind of a little small talk about this or that, probably not nothing about the game. And then oftentimes when you go against a guy all night long, you'll meet up with each other and have a few words, and you kind of get to know each other that way. And it becomes a little personal, so then you'll keep up with that other guy. And then sometimes you meet them after football and you become instant friends because you had something in common. A lot of times you played against each other, and that's the way it is for me. A lot of folks that I know I played against, and we hated each other at the time, but it's different now. Now we reminisce about the glory days, and it makes it a little bit of fun to hear their story.
Howie, I'll come right back to you, but let me give you one follow-up, Phil. When we had John Kirby on here, and he was telling his stories. It made me tear up to hear him talk about the love and affection that he had for these guys he'd played with 40 years ago, and how he'd walked into that school and just been embraced. You had a similar experience. Those guys didn't have to put their arm around you and say, "Hey, come on, guy."
I think it was John and I both experienced. It was a special group. You just walked in, they accepted you. It didn't matter. We all became instant friends, and I said the first day of practice when I walked off that field, I can remember I'm home. I could just tell it, because when they patted me on the back and they asked me what grade I was in, and most of the team members were 10th graders, they just accepted me right in. And, I just felt comfortable. I felt like I was at home, and I instantly fit in. And, and that's what you want when you come in as a football player. Well, he's coming in here and he's new. People don't know you, but they didn't care. They didn't care who I was. They didn't care who John was. They just wanted to play football, and we were all family.
Howie, I know you were a basketball player. Did you experience that in basketball?
I went to Sylvania my whole time, so I didn't, but for the players that came in, we try to welcome them in with open arms and try to welcome them and start a family type basis there. But sometimes it's kind of difficult because sometimes they didn't trust you for some reason. I guess from where they came from, maybe they had done things different. I don't know, but we tried that, but didn't have very many people to come in, so it was only just a handful.
Well, Sylvania's not a hub of the metro area.
Right, absolutely.
Both of you, just one comment. How and just I don't know how I even ask this question, but how special is the high school experience on Sand Mountain now for these kids?
I think right.
Well,
I think right now it's even better than it was when Phil was in there and when I was in there as well, because now you got social media. You can talk to the people, all week long. Back when I was playing, and you might call someone on the phone, but you didn't have cell phones. You couldn't text. You didn't have the internet and all this other stuff. And so the only time you really saw them is if you went to the movie theaters or just happened to run into somebody.
the
And
one
yeah, the one movie theater there. Well, actually, two. Rainsville had one as well for a little while.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, but in Phil's case, they had to send smoke signals because they didn't even have telephone back then.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's the players know each other a lot more now than they did when I played, and even more so than when Phil played, because of the being able to see all the huddle films and the social medias and the Snapchats and Instagrams and all this stuff. So I think it's even better now than it was when we played.
Well, to wing off of that, I think it's a lot better because these kids get a lot more pats on the back and they get raised up in social media. There's a lot more teams of the week. There's a whole lot more things out there where they're, raised up. But, on social media, these kids don't really get to know each other. Now, back in our days, yes, we didn't have cell phones, but we ran around in Fort Payne and we'd meet this person from Fort Payne, this guy from Sandrock, this guy from Plainview, and we would all get to know each other socially. I think we lack that today that we had back then, because I think a lot of times when you run into people socially, like what you're talking about in a movie, you become lifelong friends. And I don't think you see that as much today because it's all about the social media, and the kids don't go visit each other as much. You don't see them hanging out in public. And if they do hang out in public, the cops run them off. So, that's just the way it is today.
But kind of like what Phil's talking about. The new today is the new social media, though. That's how they're going to communicate with everybody.
Yeah.
Phil, is that how you found Todd Simpson?
No, that was probably you.
All right. Hey,
you and him were socially perfect.
Yes. I love my Todd.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to jump off to a different subject real fast. And I got 2 or 3 subjects I want to hit you with real fast. First, I want to talk about Scottsboro football and Mark Tyler Van. They suffered their first loss 2 weeks ago. But Howie, you were with Coach Van. Me and you hosted the show for a long time. What has Coach Van brought to Scottsboro, and where does he stand in his career? And Phil, I want to ask you the very same thing.
You know, Tyler Van has brought in some new blood, new stability there at Scottsboro that they kind of haven't really had in a few years. And he did something that no one else has ever done. If I remember correctly, he won his first 5 games, went 5-0,
Yeah,
and
he's
no
6
other.
now. I feel
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. And I think he's brought in a new excitement for Scottsboro because Scottsboro is a place that they're starving for a football team as far as a a competitive, long-lasting football team. You know, they had it for a year or so when Nix was there, but then he left. And I remember a lot of the time when Phil's down there broadcasting the games. You know, they had a few good runs there, but with Coach Van being there, him building that basically from ground up, they're they've got a long line of winning seasons in front of them, and they're excited about that.
Phil, your opinion of Coach Van and Scottsboro off to the start?
Well, I think he come in and the players will tell you, you know, he was hard on them, but they're a lot stronger. Physically, they're stronger. Mentally, they're stronger. You know, and I think what y'all was asking, they started out 5-0, then they lost to Central. And of course, they lost to Danny Horn, one of the best, if he may be the best football coach of all time in the state of Alabama. I know he was coaching back in the days when John Kirby was coaching Pisgah in the finals. They lost to Clay County, which was Danny Horn. So they're very good. And Scottsboro hung around 35-21 against that team was not bad. And then, of course, they won last week to get to 6-1. Now it tells the tale. Now they've got Gunnersville and Arab coming up. So this is where you'll tell how far they've really come because this is meat and potatoes these next 2 weeks. Very big games for the Scottsboro Wildcats, but you can't take nothing away from that team. They have done very well, have been very impressive. And what I think has been most impressive is they take over games in the second half, and they did it last week. Brewer has been, you know, they have played a good half against everybody. I think it was 14-7 at halftime, but then Scottsboro took care of business in the second half. And I think that's where Scottsboro has an advantage. If they can stay close against Gunnersville, I think they've got a shot, but they can't afford to play catch-up against Gunnersville.
Back to Danny Horn real quick. I saw where he is the all-time winningest coach in the state of Alabama.
Yeah, I wondered how he had more wins than our buddy up 5, but now I've kind of put that together in my head. So,
because he started out at Clay County, I think. Wasn't that right, Phil?
Yes.
And they ran they ran the table several years in a row there, winning state titles year in and year out, and everybody was looking up to Clay County. Even Hoover down there, they were even looking up to him there for a while. And then they combined Clay County and I don't remember the other team, but
Asheville,
and they came up with the school that he's got now. So that's where he stands at in the state of Alabama, the all-time wins record.
All right, guys. Phil, I'll start with you and then bounce over. We got 4 weeks in Alabama play. I think 4 weeks in Alabama and 3 in Tennessee. Are there any storylines that we can break down over the next 4 weeks? Is it Scottsboro and how they finished this year? Is it Fort Payne getting into playoffs? Is it a school like East Ridge getting a win? What do you think are some of the stories we can follow?
Well, the Fort Payne Gaston City game this week's huge down at Fort Payne. That's for the region title. Gaston City has been the team that's walked the walk in that region, but Fort Payne's playing very well, playing with a lot of confidence, probably more confidence than I've seen them play with in a long time. Like a game like with Buckhorn last week has often been a trap game for them, and they end up not playing well in a road game late in the season or later in the season. they will struggle, but they played very well over there, and they're playing some good football. That's a key game, a team to watch out for. I think, and people, I think, are really starting to take notice is Spring Garden in 1A. Man, they are really playing well. Coosa moved up to 2A, so that kind of opens the door for Spring Garden to be one of the better teams in North Alabama. And many people that think Fife was finished, after the 2 losses they've had, they're very wrong, because they showed you last week they have not gone anywhere. People don't understand that Coosa is probably that good. And of course, a lot of the mishaps for Fife were self-inflicted, but you have to give Coosa's defense credit for that, because I'm sure Fife saw something they've never seen before defensively. So Fife got better, I'm sure, and now they're going to be a team to beat in Class 3A naturally.
Phil, this Chattanooga region, I want to ask you about it. East Hamilton seems to be the best team in the Chattanooga area, or the city of Chattanooga. What would it take for a team from Chattanooga? There's no one that can make a run in the playoffs, are they?
Not unless they just get Red Bank has not had a good year, unless you're talking about
Maybe
East Hamilton. Yeah, East Hamilton's the only team that's had very many impressive wins. Everybody else seems to be struggling around the 500 mark or struggling just to try to make the playoffs.
All right, Howie, your thoughts on the same thing?
Yeah, the team I think to look out for, and we interviewed this guy back before the season started, Coach Hammond down at Valley Head. He said as long as his offensive line stayed healthy and played good, they would go as far as they would carry them. And Valley Head is may not be a surprise to Phil, but Valley Head has surprised a lot of people this year as far as how well they played, and it has to be because of that offensive line. And so as long as Valley Head's offensive line stays together, they can make a run. Yeah, they came up a little short against Spring Garden a few weeks ago, but that showed them where they needed to be at and what to look forward to when they move into the playoffs, what to expect. And then the other team to look forward to is the Pisgah Eagles. Can they continue this run that they're on right now? Some people thought that they'd lose them a little momentum after beating Fife that first game of the year, but instead of losing momentum, I think it just sped them up even more and gave them even more confidence that they needed. And so it's going to be interesting to see how far Pisgah can go and on that collision course right now in the north with Coosa Christian.
Yeah, definitely right there. Oh, and backing up, Howie, on that, the schools that combined is Clay County and Lineville with Nashville. Lineville was the other team, and they were Clay County and Lineville both were powerhouses.
Mm-hmm. Guys, when we do these roundtables, we get such compliments over it. I was just watching the YouTube a second ago, and the YouTube's actually blown up with this show. It's not Facebook when we do the roundtable. It's actually YouTube that seems to, I don't know, it's because we talk about all kinds of schools, but anyway, the last subject I want to ask about tonight, and this is jumping out of our level of expertise and back to college basketball a little bit, or football. I want to ask you both. Alabama plays a good South Carolina team, fair South Carolina team. Tennessee plays Florida, who's a good team no matter what anybody says, but they're probably poorly coached. What happens this week in those two games? Phil?
Both of them's got to draw a line in the sand. You can either go south or go north, and both teams need a little kick in the rear end for sure, and quit reading the rat poisoning because that's what happens to these teams. They get on social media, they get involved in all this stuff, and I think it takes away from the team aspect where you got to go play every down. Just like I said, Arkansas deserved to win because they played every down. And there is no excuses for Tennessee. Well, if we'd have done this and if we'd have done that, there was none. They just got outplayed. And now on the Alabama end, they kind of got caught by surprise. I'm suspect on Alabama defensively, But on the other side, Vanderbilt's got a good football team, probably the best team they've had in years. Because I saw them play 2 times, and I thought, well, they're probably not going to beat Alabama, but they'll show Alabama. They're going to show up, and they'll play Alabama strong. I just figured eventually Alabama's athleticism would take over, but Alabama couldn't get the football. Vandy controlled the game, and that's how you have to beat Alabama is you keep number 4 off the field.
I said, and this may be overlooked, but it shows the depth of the SEC. Texas A&M just tears Missouri up. Arkansas beats Tennessee. Vanderbilt beats Alabama. It may not be the elite at the top of the conference, but it's good football teams, 1 through 16, capable of winning a football game any night. Howie?
Yeah, when Alabama has a few, just like Tennessee and everybody else. Alabama has a few teams that they play, regardless how good or bad that other team is. It's always going to be a close game. Vandy is one of them. Southern Miss is another team. So was I surprised that Vandy won? Yeah, but I wasn't surprised if it had been a close game and Vandy didn't win because regardless of how good Alabama is, it's always been a close game. But for your question for this weekend, Tennessee and Alabama both has to come out, flex their muscles, and show everybody that it was a fluke what happened last week. If not, whoever doesn't flex their muscles and come out and show them that they are the team that they think they are, it's going to be a long road to haul for the rest of the season.
It kind of to your point, I told everybody if there's ever been a week to play a parlay of Tennessee and Alabama and expect them both to win big, this is the week. Anything either one of y'all got you want to touch on from football season? Phil, Howie, either one?
I just I just get tickled at all these prognosticators that picks all these games, and you just look and I just say you got to play the games one at a time. You just don't know who's going to show up for Georgia at Texas when they play week after next. Texas is good, but they may lay an egg at Oklahoma. You don't know. I mean, nobody expected Arkansas and Vanderbilt to win.
No.
Who expected Ole Miss to blow out South Carolina? I didn't. I figured that game was going to be close. At the first part of the year, South Carolina drilled Kentucky. Kentucky turns around, plays Georgia close, and then beats Ole Miss. So you don't know. You don't know until at the end of the season when teams start racking up injuries and losing players. Yeah, the cream of the crop will rise to the top. But right now, in this warm weather, anybody can beat anybody.
This is the best year for Tennessee and Alabama to lose. This is the best year for them to do it with it being the expanded playoff. That way, even 1-loss teams or possibly even 2-loss teams could still get in and still win the national championship.
Absolutely.
So it's still wide open for everybody. I mean, for everybody, it's wide open. With Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC, I think that kind of hurt the SEC because it means it's 2 more tough teams that's going to be in the conference, and it's more losses that could pile up, But with the playoffs, you just want to get on the dance floor and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Of course, I think with Tennessee and Alabama, Howie, is you could walk in and say, "Hey, everybody's dumping crap on top of us. It's us against the world. Let's go to work." And these kids should be motivated and they should respond.
You're 100% right. I do have something to cover, and in 2 weeks, we're going to have Coach Mitchell Dosey from Hickson High School, who is the head coach of the girls' flag football team. I went and watched practice today, and I left so excited for these girls. Everybody knows I've got a daughter, and I watched them practice, and I know it's not live rounds coming, but just seeing them run routes and take throws from him and stuff. If every boy was excited to play football as these 20 girls are, it would be something. I know it was my daughter there, and I was just shocked to watch them on the field. That talent level probably that of our junior high boys football team. They were out running routes. But we're going to put a little publicity that way the next 2 weeks, 2 weeks from now, and have Coach Dosey on here. And me as a dad, I'm very excited. I picked Annalie up from practice, and she said, the only thing I don't like about this is I can't smack somebody in the mouth when they need it. So,
yeah, you can. Yeah, you
well,
can.
if she was smart, she still could. But
Yeah.
I think her point was you can't hit each other like you
Hey,
can in
football. That's what elbows is for. You don't smack, you use elbows.
To this the flag football deal, the Atlanta Falcons are the big supporter of the
Yes.
flag football. They helped get it started in Georgia, and I know they're helping in Alabama. I don't know if they're helping in Tennessee or not.
This is all sponsored by a grant from the Tennessee Titans.
Okay, so it's still NFL related, but I know at least once, sometimes twice a year during halftime, they will bring 4 to 8 flag football teams in for the girls and let them perform at halftime on the stadium there. And usually when they do, more people stays in their seats at halftime than they do when it's anything else because they want to see these girls perform.
Well, I don't know how it's going to work, boys, but I am excited to announce we will have a live broadcast, at least one, of girls flag football here on RiverCity-Media. And I don't know that anybody's ever done that in the state of Tennessee, but we're going to do it for the first time. I know nobody in Hamilton County has, and I don't think anybody in Tennessee has. But we're going to.
Do you think you can do that without butchering it?
No.
That's going to be tough.
No.
I was just more or less wondering if he could do it without being biased.
Yeah, that's the big problem. I'll probably butcher it all to death.
Yeah.
I watched them today, and it looks like 3 linemen, 2 wide receivers, 1 running back, and a quarterback on the field, and they do run the football, and the blocking is more like kind of just getting away of somebody. You don't really throw technical blocks, but you shield their body. It was different. Hey, I'll say it this way. It's not dissimilar to watching 7-on-7 football. And the boys love doing that in the summer. And if you talk to our boys over at Sequatchie County when I was there, they talked about 7. But I think sometimes they had more fun at 7-on-7 than they did just having to suit up and play a real game sometimes. It was just go out and throw it around and have fun. So,
hey, Phil Harris won a state championship by just getting in the way, not really blocking.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that's the way you do the wishbone. That's the way the wishbone box works. You just get in the way.
Tennessee didn't block anybody this week, and they got beat. So I don't know how much money we spent on NLI to get that. But never mind. I'm not going to start. Bill, final words.
It's just been enjoy talking just a little bit. Maybe we give a little insight that we can get some folks to agree with us a little bit on. I know we don't know everything, but it's it's kind of fun to give your opinion of things that's going on. But this time of year, like me and Howie knows this big time down here in Alabama, high school football is basically a religion. And like he was talking about, the community of Sylvania comes together, the Valley Head community comes together. It's every school around here. It just means a great deal. And and a lot of times, like people from Sylvania will go watch Pisgah play or go watch Fife play, and not necessarily root for them, just interest in watching other football games. And and I enjoy that too. A lot of times I like going to games where I don't have any rooting interest, just to watch the game.
I don't like to go to games when it's never mind. Howie?
Kind of like Phil's talking about, communities going to go out and support. Go out and support a local high school this weekend. Go out and watch them. If you're not supporting a team or a player, support a cheerleader, support a band member. It's not just about football. It's about the cheerleaders. It's about the band members as well. So go out and support them. Just tell them that you're there. Tell them hi. And that's going to make a kid, smile and make their night knowing that you came out to watch them play or perform or participate.
I did get a comment on the website today about when we will return. Just to be clear, we will return to our normal format at the end of football season, and we're going to start picking up some guests. Phil and I made a conscious decision kind of to back off a little bit and let everybody enjoy football. And most of our guests, football coach wise, are busy. And then, if you're a fan of that school, you want to go to the games. And so there's a lot of people. We've had some great softball shows. And here we're going to do some stuff on girls flag football. Going to hit some basketball this fall. Definitely hit some basketball coaches. Format's not changing, just maybe changed it a little bit for football season and more about us and less about bringing guests on.
Well, I think, and to feed off of that, Randy, I think a lot of these coaches, the first of the year, they like to talk and communicate, but it starts getting busy, gets more business this time of year. And I don't like to bother them as much. Like Coach Steve Smith at Westbrook, we want to have him on, but he's busy a lot. So it's kind of hard. There's several coaches I know that will be glad to come on, but I don't like to really bother them too much during the season. Basketball's coming up, and it's easier to get football coaches on maybe after the season's over with, and you might get them during the playoffs because, you kind of, that would be a good time to maybe have a short show. But right now it's all business when it comes to high school football.
Howie, go ahead.
Yeah, yes. I don't remember what I was going to say. So go ahead.
Well, I don't remember what I was going to do. Love the show. We'll be on here next week. 2 weeks, we're going to start talking about girls high school football, maybe even getting some of the girls on here down the road as they start playing games. I'm just interested to see their reaction. Hey, one of the best storylines. Go ahead, Howie.
2 questions real quick. One, or question and statement. Anyway, what number is Anna Lee going to be?
She's got her eye on number 8.
Okay.
I'll answer that one. 8, Nico.
Okay. Yeah. And then the other thing, what I was actually going to mention was in DeKalb, Jackson County, we've got a lot of new coaches in the basketball realm for boys and girls. So we'll try to get some of those on to get them introduced and let everybody know who's coaching where.
Yes, sir.
Because Blaine Smith just resigned and went to DAR, and I think Dupree took over for him at Pisgah.
No, Koger was last I heard.
Oh, was it? Okay. But yeah, Blaine Smith went to DAR, so that kind of changes things up a little bit. Of course, we had him lined up. Of course, we can have him on later on with him being at DAR. That's fine. But that was kind of a sudden move. But, we're planning on – I've touched base with several of the coaches, and they look forward to being on. And I think you can bother them a little bit during the season. They're not as trapped as football coaches are.
I have Coach Hobbs at Sequatchie County, Coach Randolph, who's never been on the show, brand new coach at Whitwell, and Coach Pickett at Marion County, all committed. Just got to give them days as we get a little farther down the road.
And we'll try to get Coach Benefield on here as well. Not Paul Benefield, but Jody Benefield, the new head coach of the 5 Lady Red Devils.
Yes.
The one thing I want to ask her, there's one thing I want to ask her when we have her on. Is does she give Paul a rough time because she got in the Hall of Fame before he did?
I can answer that for you right now.
Did she give him grief about it?
She gives him grief about everything.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a question for her too. Is Paul Benefield going to drive her to all her games?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I want to ask.
There you go. Driving Miss Jody. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Great show. Phil, see you Saturday. Going to go try to get after the one place I can't go and ever watch a game again. I only get to see them every other year. So, Allie Cheney, I do see you tomorrow night for the Savannah Rams show. Not a good one either tomorrow night. So we'll make it a short one. I always like to keep those short when we lose. And maybe somewhere along the way this week, we're supposed to have Cabana Man Dan on. And I'm just waiting to confirm when that's going to be as we restart the we still believe show. So
And I can tell by Phil's eyes, like, who in the world is that? We're talking about wrestling now, Phil.
I'm way out of there. Yeah. That's way out of my realm.
he slaps people with a flip flop. That's all.
That's like me watching NFL football. I just want to see the scores. I have no clue what's going on most of the time. Every once in a while, I'll watch the Falcons.
For the Falcons lover, Howie Cheney.
Yeah.
For the NFL score watcher, Phil Harris. I'm Randall Cunningham. You've been beyond the booth.